Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakadane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is titled Ambiguities in ISKCON Diksha, or some unclear points that we have about certain aspects of Diksha. Everybody has some sort of, what happened, impression of Diksha. What's happening here? Okay, anyway, Diksha, so then some people think, oh, fire sacrifice, some people think, I don't know, what do you think? Bananas? Garlands, suddenly I got prema, or suddenly all my sins have gone away, or things like that, you know, or some magical thing supposed to take place. Yeah, but then afterwards I say, well, nothing really happened. I didn't feel any different afterwards. So, you know, this whole ambiguity. So what is Diksha really? So we have differing concepts of initiation. Oh, no. What happened to it? It went off or something? Okay.
It's coming in 1 minute.
Yeah, okay.
You have to click your slideshow, Mars.
Click it again. Go out of here or something, do something. Didn't do it this time.
You can do this.
We have to get in here, I guess. No, maybe. Okay, now I got it. Oops. It's coming?
Okay, Kim.
Okay, fine. Differing concepts of initiation. Why do we have different concepts of initiation? Well, one is we got different statements by Prabhupada himself. If you've understood this Krishna consciousness philosophy and you have decided that you will take Krishna consciousness seriously and preach the philosophy to others, that is your initiation. My talks are simple formality. So you don't have to go through all of these ceremonies. Initiation, you just accept the philosophy. This is one letter, or one statement you made with instructor of religion at Columbia University. So it's internal acceptance. And this is a continuation of something like that. So anyway, from 1922 to 33, practically was not initiated, but he got the impression of preaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult. And that was the initiation by my Guru Maharaj. Then officially, I was initiated in 1933. So the whole ceremony is something official, but actually he took the initiation 10 years earlier, he's saying, internally. So it's an internal acceptance of the Guru, he calls it initiation. Seed of Bhakti is initiation. So you take the Bhakti Lata beach from the spiritual master, that is called initiation. And develop it by pouring water, hearing and chanting, then it will grow. So when you get instructions from a guru, a devotee, and you start devotional service, that's initiation. It may not be your Diksha Guru, it could be somebody else even. So, then we got internal, then we got instructions and then we get inspired by instructions to do bhakti, and that's initiation. Then chanting Hare Krishna is our main business. That is real initiation. And as you are all following my instruction in the matter, the initiator is already there. Is follow the instructions from chant Hare Krishna, you're initiated. Now the next initiation will be performed as a ceremony officially. Of course, that ceremony has a value because the holy name will be delivered to the student from the disciplic session. It has great value. So we got initiating, and then we have accepting the holy name, and then officially taking the holy name, which I guess we call first initiation. That's initiation. And then first initiation. Why do you believe in rumors that first initiation is not so important as second? I have already said that it is equally important, but you say rumor. Actually, first initiation is more important. You can go without second initiation. If the first initiation is executed very thoroughly, that is sufficient. First initiation stands strong. So here's emphasis on first initiation. Then we have second initiation. Regarding your question, second initiation is real initiation. First initiation is preliminary, just to make them prepared, just like primary and secondary education. So we got wide variety of statements about initiation. Internal acceptance is initiation. Chanting Hare Krishna is initiation. First is called initiation. Second is called initiation. So what is it? What is Diksha really? A little confusion there. And I think in ISKCON also, devotees may debate. They see one of these statements, they say this, and then someone else quotes another thing, and then it's something else. So we get first initiation, second initiation, no initiation, etc. So we should clarify this a little bit, because everyone is emphasizing initiation a lot. Initiated devotees are the standard, and if you're not initiated, then you're inferior, etc. That sort of concept, And even within the strategic planning, they want to do a census of devotees and get all the devotees on record, so they take initiated devotees as the standard. Okay, we'll just say these are the ISKCON members, so let's take initiated devotees. So they take initiation as the standard for being a member of ISKCON. So let's look at what Scripture says. Maybe this can solve our contradiction. So the main definition of Diksha, which is also quoted in the Nectar of Instruction by Prabhupada, also in Bhaktivedanta Swami when he discusses different types of gurus, including the Diksha Guru. So he quotes this verse also, which is the Divya Gyanam Yatodha Jat Koryat Tapasa Samshayam verse. So this defines Diksha. But actually it's two verses, and we can't separate the two verses. So there's a second verse which is very important. Actually, it's the first verse which the Ritviks also quote, to say that Prabhupada's the only Diksha Guru. He's the only one that can give you transcendental knowledge and destroy your sins. So he's the only Diksha Guru. Right? But we have a second verse also here, and the two are connected. They're actually from Padma Purana. So the first one is, Diksha is so called by the wise because it bestows Divya Jnana and destroys sins. That is two things. And so what actually is happening here is we have the word Diksha. Tasmad Diksha iti saprokta. It is called Diksha by the wise because it gives Divya Jnanam and it destroys sin. So why Diksha means, Divya Jnanam? Because Divya Jnanam, we get the D here, or Divya Jnanam, and the Ksha from Papasya Samshayam. So Dit and Ksha. Divya Jnanam and destruction of sin. That's that. But Oka said the spiritual master gives you knowledge and destroys your sin. Therefore, he's called the Diksha Guru. But that's not all. Second verse. Therefore, one should offer respect to Guru, offer him everything except Vaishnava mantra according to the rules of taking Diksha. So, actually, you're getting the transcendental knowledge and destruction of sin through the mantra. That is, the mantras we get at second initiation, the secret mantras, not Hare Krishna. In other words, we get spiritual knowledge, destruction of sin, etc. So, Jiva Goswami gives a commentary on this. Divya Jnanam is knowledge of the form of the Lord and knowledge of one's particular relationship with the Lord in the sacred mantra. Shri Mantra, the mantra. So we get a certain mantra, like Krishna mantra or a Gaura mantra. So that contains knowledge of what the form of the Lord is. Krishna, it's not Vishnu, it's not Rama, it's not Varaha, it's Krishna, or it's Gauranga. So we get knowledge of who we're supposed to worship and our relationships. We have, Krishnaya, Namaha, or Swaha, etc. So our relation becomes to serve the Lord. So we get knowledge of who is the Lord we worship and our mood of approach to the Lord. It is mainly for rich householders doing deity worship. So that statement is there because those mantras are Pancharatric mantras used for Pancharatric deity worship. And if you take the deity ministry course on deity worship, then you find out that you use those mantras that you get at Diksha when you offer different items to the deity, like the flowers or the incense, etc. So you're supposed to utter your deity mantras at that time. And why rich householders? Because rich householders have money, and they should spend their money on worshiping Krishna. That's the way you get rid of the money, so they don't waste it on sense gratification. So they buy nice food and flowers and decorations, etc. for the deity. So it engages the rich householders. So in summary, this is the little diagram. Diksha means you get the mantra from the Guru, secret mantra, to the Diksha Guru, and you get your Divyaganam, Div or Divyaganam, which means knowledge of who the Lord is, and your relationship with Him, and consequently, destruction of sin. So what is the relationship between the Divyaganam and destruction of sin? That's quite easy. What is sin? It's caused by ignorance. And how do we remove ignorance? By knowledge. So we get Divyaganam. Obviously, we get destruction of our knowledge, our ignorance and sin. This is just from Nectar Devotion. Srila Rupa Goswami says that the stresses from sinful activities are due both to the sins themselves and to the sins committed in our past lives. Generally, one commits sinful activities due to ignorance. So we have knowledge. Knowledge destroys ignorance, and thus we get a destruction of our karmas, sins, etc. However, as I said, this second verse of the two verses talks about getting that Divyaganam and destruction of sin through the mantra. That's the Diksha. But then we can also say, well, is that the only way we get Divyaganam and destruction of sin? The answer is no. So many ways we get the destruction of sin and the knowledge. All types of bhakti are Divyaganam. If there were ignorance, why are we doing bhakti if we're only getting ignorance? No. It's also Divyaganam, spiritual knowledge. So all of these different types of bhakti, like hearing Bhagavatam, it gives us knowledge of the Lord's form and our relationship with the Lord. And consequently, all these processes of bhakti destroy sin and karma, etc. For instance, devotional service is kleshagni. That's one of the first quality of bhakti mentioned in Nectar Devotion is kleshagni, destruction of suffering. And suffering is caused by karma. Karma is caused by desires. Desires is caused by ignorance. Ignorance is destroyed by bhakti. So, devotional service is kleshagni. It destroys all karmas, all sins, all ignorance. So, not only Diksha gives Divyaganam and destroys sin, all types of bhakti do it. So this is a statement that kleshagni is a quality of bhakti in general, not just Diksha. Destroys all karmas, ignorance, etc. And another quote from Nectar Devotion, similarly, the blazing fire of Krishna consciousness is so strong that the snakes of ignorance are immediately killed. So bhakti destroys ignorance, etc., and gives transcendental knowledge. So this definition of Diksha is limiting destruction of sin and giving Divyaganam to the mantra. Through the mantra, we get our destruction of sin and our bestowal of transcendental knowledge. So what is the ultimate deliverer of Divyaganam and destruction of sin? It's chanting the holy name. This is our main process. Holy name is fully identical. Holy name of the Lord is fully identical with the Lord, not partially. The word Purna means complete. The Lord is omnipotent and omniscient, and similarly His name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and everything pertaining to Him are complete, pure, eternal, and free from material contamination. A person who chants the holy name of Krishna once can counteract the resultant actions of more sinful activities he's able to perform. So, definitely by chanting Hare Krishna without initiation. You don't need initiation for Hare Krishna. In fact, in order to get initiated, you have to chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds, for so many years, at least 1 year. So we're doing Harinam long before we get initiation. And this destroys karma. Obviously, it gives us knowledge because we're supposed to establish a relationship with Krishna, and it's full of Krishna, identical with the Lord. So in other words, not only we get our Divyaganam and destruction of sin through Diksha, we also get it by chanting Hare Krishna without Diksha. Namacharya Haridas Thakur continues, if one offensively utters the holy name, even imperfectly, one can be freed from all results of sinful life. Even a faint light from the holy name of the Lord as Namabhas can eradicate all reactions of sinful life. So even if you're not chanting Sudhanam, but impure chanting, Namabhas, or even accidental chanting, even that destroys sin. That's the power of the name.
can't have accidental chanting of your mantras, because they're specific words in specific order given secretly by the Guru. But nama is, you can do it accidentally also, like we have so many titles, Krishna Liquor Shop or something, or whatever like that. There's names of the Lord all over the place. And you can chant them accidentally when you're chanting another name of something else, a place, or like Krishna Nagar. I'm going to Krishna Nagar today. You're chanting the name of Krishna. So accidental chanting, it also has power, and it's only name of Lord. So we can chant on Nama Bas, but we can also chant with devotion. Obviously, we chant with devotion is much more powerful. Although the sinful Ajamil meant to call his son the holy name Lord Narayan, even though chanted with the in the preliminary stage, Nama Bas, was able to give him liberation. Therefore, one who chants the holy name of the Lord with faith and devotion is certainly exalted. He is protected even in his material condition of life. So, Nama Bas has some effect without Diksha, because accidental chanting or impure chanting, and eventually we can get some knowledge of Krishna and destruction of sin. But of course, if we have good knowledge, we have a Shiksha Guru or some teachings, we get good knowledge, we chant Sudanam, then we actually get to Prema. Destruction of sin, bestowal of Divya Jnanam, and we get to Prema. So, without Diksha, with Shiksha. So we know that in our Sampradaya, chanting of the holy name is the main process. Other Sampradayas know they don't have the holy name as the main process. So a lot of them rely on deity worship as their main process. But in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, chanting is the main process. And that's Yuga Dharma. So it's not the Diksha mantras that are delivering us so much as name of the Lord, holy name, Harinam. Of course, within the Diksha mantras, we have the name of the Lord also, so it's there. But it's more limited because it's not public. We just personally chant those secretly. So, chanting of the name is independent of Diksha for its results. So that is why Prabhupada said, first initiation more important. We're chanting Hare Krishna. So he's stressing the Hare Krishna aspect there. And they said, you don't have to take second initiation. O best of the Brahmanas, even without initiation, preliminary purification, or acceptance of renounced order, one can attain perfection in devotional service simply by chanting the Lord's holy name. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna once, a person is relieved from all reactions of a sinful life. One can complete the 9 processes of devotional service simply by chanting the holy name. One does not have to undergo initiation or execute the activities required before initiation. One simply has to vibrate the holy name with his lips. Thus, even a man in the lowest class, Chandala, can be delivered. So then the question comes about, we can get our perfection through chanting Hare Krishna. Why do we need Diksha? Well, so we actually do both processes. Yes, we have the Diksha, and we have Nama. And Diksha, of course, is for the deity worship. Specifically, we're using it for worship of the deity. It's a Pancharatric process. So that's Archana Marga. Then we have chanting of the holy name, the Yuga Dharma. This is what we call Bhagavata Marga. So we're doing both processes. We don't reject the Archana Marga. It's a process, but it's actually secondary to the Nama, the Bhagavata Marga. If we don't do the Bhagavata Marga, our deity worship is not proper. If we only do the Archana Marga, then we're not really following Lord Caitanya. So we have to do them together, and the prominence is given to chanting of the holy name. This is the main process for us. But we do both. So we have 2 paths going on here. Of course, in the Nectar Devotion, we find 5 processes are very important. And among them, of course, is chanting the holy name, another is hearing, another is associated devotees, another is deity worship, another is living in the holy Dham. So deity worship is among the 5 important ones. So generally, we can do all 5 of these things, principal angas of bhakti. But prominence is given to the Bhagavata Marga of chanting the holy name. And to do it properly, we need Shiksha, we need some sort of Shiksha Guru, and we can get our perfection that way. But we also do the Pancharatric Marga. We take the Diksha, we use that mantra for Archana as an assistant. So there are some quotations in Chaitanya Charitamrita that show that. For instance, worship of the deity in the temple is essential to reduce one's restlessness due to the contaminations of conditional life. So we chant, but not all people can chant and only chant. They want to do something. So engage their senses, engage their body in serving the Lord somehow. We do Archana as well. And of course we see that most of our acharyas and great personalities in the Sampradaya also did Archana. They had deities, etc. So what's the conclusion of this section? Deliverance of prema comes through various methods. That is, Divyaganam and destruction of sin. Not just Diksha and Archana. So we get other processes of bhakti. We get chanting of the holy name, etc. And this is all done through, we can say, Shiksha Gurus. They can do this. And we get Prabhupada in his books. And we, of course, we get Archana and the Diksha Guru. So it's not, in other words, Divyaganam and destruction of sin is not solely the prerogative of the Diksha Guru. Others involved in the process. So the question came up about what's our real initiation, first or second? So to answer that question, we have to analyze our initiation, our two parts of our initiation, or our two initiations, so to speak. So we have a tradition. We see Lord Caitanya got initiated. He got Diksha, he got the mantra, Gopal mantra from his guru. Then he came back to Navadvip and he started Sankirtan. And Gadadhar got initiation, Nityananda had initiation, and they also gave initiation, Nityananda, Advaita, etc. So they started certain lines of succession of Diksha also. So it's quite common in our Sampradaya, this whole process of initiation. But then, why we have two initiations? You actually only have one Diksha Guru, so how could you have two Dikshas? First initiation, second initiation. How's that? But which is the more important of the two? Which is the real initiation? And then we have something called political initiation. What is that? And is that necessary? Are we superior to Brahmanas? What is the standard in Gaudiya tradition? What do other Gaudiyas? We can look at the whole system we have. So one way of looking at it is from the Pancharatric Diksha, which is also called Pancha Samskar, 5 purificatory rites. So we have 5 elements. Tilak, which we have, our particular tilak. But usually we are wearing that tilak long before we get even the first initiation, maybe from day one. Tapa, which is getting branded. They take a hot iron piece with a shankha and a chakra on it, and put it with the iron in the fire and make it real hot, and then they brand your shoulders with it. So that's called tapa. This is still done in the Sri Sampradaya and Madhva Sampradaya. North Indian Sampradayas generally, we don't, the Vaishnava Sampradayas don't seem to do that, like Vallabhas don't do it. I don't know, Marcus I don't think do either. And you get a spiritual name, Krishna Das, Gauranga Das, Damodar Das, etc. That's common. We have getting the mantra, that's the secret mantra, not Hare Krishna. This is getting your secret mantras, like Krishna mantra, Gauranga mantra, and Archana and Homa, qualification to Archana. So these are the 5 elements of a traditional Diksha. Now, traditionally, in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, it was a very simple ceremony. Give the Diksha mantras. So we see Lord Caitanya got some mantra when he was in Gaya and he came back. No mention of anything, no ceremony or anything. The Guru gave him some mantra and then the Guru went away and he went away. Or we see in Griya Bhagavatamrita, Gopakumar gets the mantra from his Guru, the Guru gives him the mantra, then the Guru disappears. That's all. So the main element there was the mantra. Down the second part, Krishna mantra. That's the main part of the Diksha. That defines the Diksha, so to speak. And we see in the definition of Diksha, it talks about you get the Vaishnava mantra from the Guru. And through that, you get your Digiganam and your destruction of sin. So the mantra, you could say, is the central part of it there. So, traditionally, very simple ceremony. One stage ceremony. Just get the mantra, and they usually gave name, Krishna Das, or whatever like that. Now, we get some modification of that in the Gaudiya Math. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he kind of made a two-stage ceremony. But he didn't call the first one initiation. He just simply called it giving the name. So it's not a real. So that way, initiation was the second, what we call second initiation, where you get the mantras. And the first part, where you just chant Hare Krishna and make vows, that was just called Nam Dan, giving the name. It was often given by the Diksha Guru, one who later becomes a Diksha, but sometimes not, given by other persons as well. So, this was not initiation, but they got beads, and they got instructions on chanting, and maybe they get some very loose vows or something like that they can follow. And they may get the name Krishna Das, Gauranga Das, but they may not also. And then the second was, the actual Diksha was, they may get the spiritual name that they didn't get previously, and then they get the mantra, Krishna mantra, Gauranga mantra, Guru mantra, etc., and they're qualified for Archana. So we get the elements of the Pancha Samskar here, the last elements here. Yeah? And then we get a little addition. There's the Vedic Diksha. That is, you get the Brahma Gayatri mantra, the Vedic mantra as well at this time. After you're qualified as a Vaishnava and you get your Vaishnava mantras, and then you get the Vedic Gayatri mantra. But to get the Vedic Gayatri mantra, you have to go through a samskara, a Vedic samskara. So they have what is called the Upanayanam samskara, which is commonly performed when people get their threads in India when they're children or whatever. So this is there, it's commonly known. And along with that, there's the Vedic fire sacrifice, etc. And then they get their thread and they get the mantra. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, after they got their Vaishnava initiation, they performed this ceremony, and they got their thread and their Brahma Gayatri mantra with a fire sacrifice, Vedic fire sacrifice, Upanayanam sacrifice, which is quite complex affair. It takes an hour or over an hour to do. And not given to women. No, the women wouldn't be there because generally these Vedic sacrifices become a brahmachari afterwards. You go to the Gurukul and study. Women didn't usually do that. So women don't get that, but the men get the mantra and they go to the fire sacrifice, etc. So that was his tradition. So this is something he added. This first element, the Nam Dan, he introduced as a preliminary procedure. And then he also introduced this giving the Vedic mantra after getting your Vaishnava mantras. Now normally in India, if you were upper caste, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahmana, you would get your thread and your mantra separately when you're a child. As Lord Caitanya, when he was 5 years old, he got his thread and his mantra, etc., through his father or whoever, like that. And that's commonly done in most families, three upper castes. It was a separate ceremony. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati tacked this on to the Vaishnava initiation. Why? So there was some controversy within Bengal, maybe North India or whatever, about the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, that they're low-class people and they can't worship the deities unless they're Brahmanas. So then the counter-argument, if you take Pancharatric initiation, you're qualified to worship the deities. It doesn't matter where you're from, what caste you're from. And that's a common principle in Pancharatra. And of course, we see in Bhagavatam it says there, if you chant the holy name of the Lord once, if you're a dog eater, then you're qualified to do Vedic sacrifices. So taking that verse, then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he argued with these smarta Brahmanas. He said, the Vaishnava who's initiated is superior to a Brahmana, and he's qualified to do whatever a Brahmana can do. Therefore, he instituted this sacrifice with the mantra. He said, okay, we are also equal to Brahmanas. We expect also, because we're Vaishnavas, we're qualified to do whatever Brahmana can do. So we can also worship the deity among other things. So it was a preaching strategy at that time to show the power of being a Vaishnava. Not that we're becoming Brahmanas, but we've surpassed the Brahmana by becoming a Vaishnava. So this is the analysis there of the Pancha Samskar. Basically, they get divided up into two parts. So you may get the name like Krishna Das in the first part. That's part of the Pancha Samskar. Then you get the important part. That is the Krishna mantra or Gauranga mantra in the second part. So that's the mantra part is the important part. So it kind of gets divided up, part 1, part 2. But they didn't call the first one initiation, they called it Namdan, and the second one is the Vaishnava initiation. Then he added on the Vedic Samskar as well, the Vedic initiation, getting the Brahma guide for preaching reasons. So he made some modifications to the simple process of simply giving the mantra and name, Krishna Das, etc. So, ISKCON, we got further modifications. So here we get the first one to call it initiation, first initiation instead of Namdan. And we get our spiritual name, of course, Tila. And we also do a sacrifice. It gets attached to it, which is not Vedic, a non-Vedic sacrifice. We chant Mam Vishnu Padaya, we do the Guru mantra, the Pranam mantras, etc. And we do Swaha. So this is a non-Vedic of the sacrifice. So that's a modification. No sacrifice in Gaudiya Math, in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And we also put an emphasis on the vows. You follow regular principles, chant 16 rounds, etc. You know, you have many promises you have to commit yourself. And so this is emphasized, not so much in Gaudiya Math, but here in ISKCON we do that. So that's some modification there. Now, second part, again, of course, we call it second initiation, but in Gaudiya Math it's called Diksha initiation. So we call it second initiation, or Brahman initiation. So of course the elements are the same, you get your mantras, etc., qualified to Archana. And we also have this Vedic Diksha mantra given. We also do fire sacrifice here, but actually we don't do the Vedic sacrifice at all. We still do the same one they did for the first initiation, which is this Pranam mantra thing. Non-Vedic. So this is different from what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada introduced. But of course, the main element is giving the Vedic mantra and the thread. But also women get the Vedic mantra here, which is not done in the Gaudiya Math. So, this is ISKCON. We got first initiation, and we put an emphasis on vows, and we also do a non-Vedic sacrifice. Then we have second initiation. And similar to Gaudiya Math, what we call second initiation instead of this initiation. And we do, and then we have men and women also getting the Gayatri Mantra, the Vedic Gayatri Mantra. So there's some modifications here from what the Gaudiya Math did. So we see that the essential element that, of course, is for Diksha as such is, by scriptural definition, is getting those deity mantras in what we call the second initiation. But for many devotees in ISKCON, first initiation ceremony is more important, and actually they put a lot of emphasis on the fire sacrifice. And this becomes the important element of the first initiation, and there's lots of what we call urban legends, or whatever, that the fire burns up all your karmas or something like that, things like that. Some stories come up like that, or the karma goes into the bananas or something. You put the bananas in the fire. So you got all sorts of little stories like this coming out. But actually, there was no fire sacrifice at all for the first initiation. There was a fire sacrifice for the second, but that was actually a Vedic sacrifice for the Upanayana with Vedic mantras. So, but everybody is thrilled by this fire sacrifice where you throw the bananas in the fire and things like that. But actually, it's a secondary element. So, as I said, it's a traditional Gaudiya ceremony, very, very simple. Simply give the secret mantra in private to the disciple, and you can give him a name, Krishna Das, whatever. Finish. That's it. No fire sacrifice, nothing. Which emphasizes the real essence of what Diksha is, giving those basic mantras. So, we can ask the question, does our present system with fire sacrifice and big public display place too much emphasis on the Diksha Guru as the sole deliverer of the disciple? So many people take initiation and think, okay, my Diksha Guru is saving me, he's my, I surrender completely to him, and I don't have to listen to anybody else. He's the one that saves me and whatever. But actual Diksha, as I said, is simply giving those mantras for deity worship. That's the actual Diksha Guru. That's his real function. Now, in ISKCON, of course, the Diksha Guru has another function. He's also giving Shiksha usually. But Shiksha is not confined to the one Guru. We have many Shiksha Gurus. So, therefore, it's not only through the Diksha Guru that you can get the Shiksha. You get from many people, and you may get more significant teachings from other persons. So, therefore, you could have respect for not just one person and surrender to one person, but surrender to many persons. So, should we simply preserve the exact method with the fire sacrifice for the first initiation, etc., or could we modify the procedures in line with the simple ceremony of the previous acharyas? Question. Last thing we do it, but it's the question. So, next. Okay. The next portion here is who to surrender to. Who do we worship? Who do we give most respect to? First initiation guru, second initiation guru, Shiksha Guru, founder Acharya. So usually, of course, at ISKCON, the highest worship goes to your Diksha Guru. In spite of the fact, as I said, that actually his real function as Diksha Guru is simply to give those mantras in the second initiation. Scripture tells us that you should respect equally the Shiksha Guru and the Diksha Guru. They're both delivering. They're both servants of the Lord. You should serve them both with great devotion, etc. Now, of course, the Shiksha Guru can become the Diksha Guru later on. That's there, so one person can serve both roles. But we can also have separate roles. Diksha Gurus doing one thing, and Shiksha Gurus doing the teachings. And in ISKCON, we find that often, because Diksha Gurus are limited, we have maybe 40 Diksha Gurus in ISKCON. And then we have so many people to get initiated, that usually the Diksha Guru may have from anywhere from 100 to 15,000 disciples. So how much Shiksha can he give them actually? And how much personal guidance can he give them? Not so much, obviously. So therefore, a lot of other people would have to do the Shiksha. So we'd have Shiksha Gurus. We can't depend on that Diksha Guru to give you all the Shiksha you need for your spiritual development, so you have to depend on Shiksha Gurus. So then the Shiksha Guru would also become very prominent in the devotees' life, or should be. So ISKCON culture, as such, is that the Diksha Guru gets all the worship and the donations and the obedience. But, as I said, his divine function is actually simply to give those deity mantras in the second initiation. So we have the Diksha Guru and the devotee, but ISKCON is a little unique because most organizations, they only have one Diksha Guru in their organization. But we have multi-gurus, and then we have another thing, we have an organizational setup. Under Prabhupada, he is said to establish a governing body commission. And it's not one person, it's many persons. And they are the managerial, highest managerial authority, ultimate managing authority. And then under them we have temple presidents, regional secretaries, etc. And we have the devotees. So we have a managerial structure. And we also have the Diksha Guru and the devotee. So the devotee has a loyalty to both. He has a loyalty to ISKCON and the managerial structure. He also has a loyalty to his Diksha Guru, or other gurus also. But usually it's Diksha Guru. And generally it is the loyalty to the Diksha Guru that predominates. and whatever he says, the disciple does. And if the temple president or the GBC says, then it's a weaker order. So he'll more likely follow the Diksha Guru. So then we say the Diksha Guru gets more prominence than anybody else. However, people will respond, okay, Shastra says you have to, give your life and soul to your Guru. Usually, if you look at those quotes, it doesn't actually say Vaishnava Diksha Guru. And a lot of the quotes actually come from Vedas. And it's talking about the Upanayam Guru, actually. The quotes that are Vedic quotes, actually, from Upanishads, is talking about your Vedic Guru who gives you Guru Bhuva Swaha mantra. That's your, and you offer your life to him. So often it is that. And other quotes, they're not specifically, it doesn't say Diksha Guru, Vaishnava Diksha Guru, it could be Shiksha Guru also that you offer your devotion to. In any case, gurus are offered respect, definitely. But then, we find, like in Krishna Bhaktisiddhanta, a quote like this: when respecting or worshipping lesser and greater devotees, they first worship the devotees of greater spiritual strength and then those of ordinary strength. So one who's of a higher spiritual standard should get more respect. So the Diksha Guru may have a lower spiritual status, and a Shiksha Guru may have a higher spiritual status. So therefore, you give more respect to the other Guru, more respect to him than your Diksha Guru, according to this statement. So in other words, that devotion and surrender is not only for the Diksha Guru. It goes in, it can be divided up. And he also makes this interesting statement. Father is like the Guru, his older and younger brother also gurus, but the father of one's father or a great relative worthy of greater respect is also Guru. But his worship should be double that of the father. This is well known among virtuous. So not only we can divide the respect up with Diksha Guru and others, but even you get a double respect even to someone else. In this case, he's giving an example. The grandfather gets double the respect of the father. So therefore, you have Diksha Guru, and then his Guru, you have to give double respect to him. So there's divided respect and also more respect given to some persons, even than one's Diksha Guru. So it's not this, I only worship my Diksha Guru and nobody else. And then, of course, we get the greatest respect given to the founder Acharya. Founder Acharya of Sampradaya, being the topmost Guru, should be given all respect proper to his position, so he gets most prominent worship. This, of course, is Sampradaya, but then within the Gaudiya Sampradaya, then we have our ISKCON, and with that we have Prabhupada as our founder, so he gets most prominent respect also. So therefore, giving respect is not only on one person. It can be many persons. We have many persons giving us Divyaganam and destruction of sin, so we have to give respect to all. And because we are an organization with many Diksha Gurus in it, then we have to give prominence to Prabhupada as the founder of everything, the center of everything. So, how do we ensure that the loyalty to ISKCON remains stronger than loyalty to Diksha Guru? This was when the strategic planning first started, they isolated different important topics that strategic planning should handle. And one of them was the Diksha Guru. There's a worry that the Diksha Guru and loyalty to Diksha Guru will be stronger than loyalty to the movement. So how do we deal with that? And if we have many Diksha Gurus in ISKCON and each group of devotees is loyal to their spiritual master, then what happens to the whole body of ISKCON? They're not loyal to them, they're loyal to their individual gurus. So we have many little movements within ISKCON which are like independent entities. So that was a worry. How do we keep the unity of ISKCON when we have so many Diksha Gurus and so much loyalty given to the Diksha Guru? How to maintain unity of ISKCON with so many strong loyalties, which is stronger than the ISKCON? Now we have one guru, but we have many gurus. And we have GBC as the ultimate managing authority, and if we have one Diksha Guru who is separate from that strong also, that would be a problem. But if we have many Diksha Gurus, then it also becomes more of a problem. How do we balance the loyalties? And then another point is, how do we cater to the increasing number of devotees? we're supposed to be expanding all the time, which means expanding the number of devotees. But we're very reluctant to increase the number of Diksha Gurus. This is like a little cumbersome process. We got 40 Diksha Gurus or so, and we have thousands and thousands and thousands of devotees. Like, how do we accommodate all these devotees with 40 Diksha Gurus, and how can they take care of everybody? This becomes a problem also. So I was talking to one devotee from Russia, and he said, well, we have a problem because we get 3 or 4 Diksha Gurus in Russia, and one of them speaks Russian, and 1 or 2 speaks Russian, but the others don't. And we have thousands and thousands of devotees waiting to take initiation. Well, what do we do with all these people? So, of course, one is we have to really understand the function of Diksha. And I said that was giving the mantra, which we get at second initiation. And, of course, the mantra is there, but then we have a prominence of Harinam, which doesn't need that Diksha Guru also. So that takes a little bit of emphasis on the Diksha Guru. And there should be proper understanding what Diksha is in the disciples' course, and also in the Guru's course. Now, people become Diksha Gurus, but I really doubt whether most of the Diksha Gurus know what they're doing and when they're doing Diksha. What are they doing actually? You know? So the real Diksha is actually that those mantras and second initiative, scripturally speaking. That is. Of course, they're also doing something else, the Shiksha, and often the two things get combined together, but actually the Diksha as such is the mantras. And we have to emphasize staying within ISKCON and contributing to this unity. So therefore, understand that guru-disciple relation is not the only relationship. We have the disciples' relationship and the guru's relationship with ISKCON. ISKCON cannot survive without devotees and without gurus, but then the guru and the disciple are actually living within ISKCON, taking advantage or taking the services of ISKCON, etc. So there has to be some relationship there. And of course, we wrote a paper with lines of authority, so devotees, it's compulsory reading for all prospective disciples now, so they should understand those points. So, the last section here is just a few extra suggestions. So, in this analysis, we have the essential element of Diksha according to Scripture, which was getting that mantra, the secret mantras. Krishna mantra, Gaur mantra. And then the other things are, we can say, subsidiary elements, and we see there was modifications taking place. So we got what was called the Namdan, which Prabhupada calls the first initiation. That was an add-on, so to speak, introduction. We get fire sacrifice, when originally we had a Vedic sacrifice, Upanayam sacrifice, and second initiation. ISKCON, we get a fire sacrifice in first initiation, so that's also an extra add-on. We get the Brahmana, being a Brahmana. This was added on by Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur after after giving the mantras and what we call second initiation. That's also an add-on. And then, of course, we got Shiksha. Normally, of course, the Diksha Guru is also going to give Shiksha, but we should not confuse the roles. Shiksha is something else, and other people can also give Shiksha, so it's not only the Diksha Guru that gives it. And then we get this idea of loyalty to the Guru, and it becomes loyalty to the Diksha Guru, and that becomes some sort of exclusive thing. So that's not exactly the truth, because we see that Shiksha Guru should get equal respect with the Diksha Guru. So this kind of something is stuck in there, but not scriptural. So, Gopal and Kontya made a presentation about the 5 principles of success, that you have to, interact with the public properly, and the members within have to be in proper treatment, and you have to measure results very nicely. And then innovation. If you don't innovate, you don't succeed. And then systems. You keep the organization intact. So innovation. So what could we innovate in Diksha without, going beyond the scriptures or whatever? Should we innovate? Answer is, already innovation took place. Bhaktisiddhanta innovated. He added that Brahmana thing into there afterwards. He put this first Namdan in there. That was an innovation. Why? For certain purposes at that time. It was a good preaching strategy. So he did that. Innovation for the particular time. And then Prabhupada also innovated. Instead of taking Bhaktisiddhanta standard, he did something. So those are the innovation things. So, can we innovate further? This would be a big discussion in the DVC. Can we change things now? Now that they're like that, can they be changed or not? Maybe we'll be forced to change sooner or later. As I said, if you don't change, in one sense, innovate, get lost. So maybe we would have to change our idea about Diksa and maybe modify things a little bit. What could we alter to suit the present and the future generations? Because we do have the problem of increasing number of devotees and less gurus to take care of them. We have more need for caring for all these disciples, and the gurus can't do that. Diksha gurus can't do that. And we also have a changing attitude in the modern world. It's called postmodernism, and people are very skeptical that even we're God, of course they don't like it, and they don't like authoritarian structures. You know, top-down structures they don't like. They like a little more freedom, whatever. So the idea of guru and devotion to guru and all that becomes like some sort of cultish type thing, you know. And of course we see many cults are like that. You got one figure up there and everybody's surrendered completely to that person. So many people get very suspicious when we get that type of organization with that. And we have to try to keep ISKCON unified and not have too strong. The loyalties to the Diksha Guru cannot be so prominent. So, could we modify our system, make it simpler, and less of a public event, you know, and still align with Gaudiya norms? This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu getting his Diksha. Should we call the first one not initiation and Namdan again? Because we do this, it's a little bit of a confusion. First initiation, second initiation, and we get confused about that. And maybe make it simple, and then many people could do this initiate, this what we call the Namdan, and that would keep people within ISKCON. And it would solve this problem of having a limited number of Diksha Gurus because you have so many people giving out Namdan. It's radical maybe, but do we have to keep preaching that we're superior to Brahmanas? Even in India at the moment, there's not much of a challenge. But we'll just speak of the Western world, they don't even know what a Brahmana is. So there's no preaching that we're superior to Brahmanas. And in future generations, maybe it becomes an archaic thing, just like the cat in the basket, the story that was told. Everyone remember that story? Cat in the basket of the marriage. Because the cat was causing disturbance, so therefore the mother put the cat in the basket in the corner so the cat wouldn't disturb the wedding ceremony. And the daughter saw this. So when the daughter got married, then she also thought, I knew exactly what mother did. So she got a cat and put it in the basket and put it in the corner of the wedding ceremony. And ever after that in their family, there's a cat in the basket at the wedding. Must have a cat for your wedding in a basket. Do you really need it? So, you know, in the future where we have a common initiation, but do we need it in the future? Maybe yes, maybe not. Anyway, it's one of those, you know, let's say, elements which were added on by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, whether for preaching at that time, because there's smarter Brahmanas challenging, but no smarter Brahmanas challenging now, probably not in the future also. So, would it be so necessary? And just to take the emphasis off of Diksha, why not put the emphasis on the holy name? Which is what Lord Caitanya did. He didn't talk about Diksha and all that. He was simply talking about the holy name, chant the holy name, everybody chant the holy name. So isn't the best strategy not to emphasize getting initiated, but rather to chant the holy name, engage people in chanting, and of course get shiksha about chanting, etc. And in this way we could spread ISKCON around the world. So these are some ideas for change in the future, because the whole topic of this year was, you know, what to do for the future, whatever. So I just brought up these ideas and people to think about them, what could be modified or not modified or whatever. Okay, finish. Yeah, maybe we can turn the lights on. Hare Krishna.
You mentioned previously that Nam Dam, there wasn't any commitment to vows or anything like that.
Much less. You'll find now many prospective devotees sometimes go to the Gaudiya Mutt and they get into that first thing. They don't ask much. They just say chant Hare Krishna like that, and they give them a name like that. So they don't put so much emphasis on that, on real strict vows. Doesn't mean we should, but they don't. So some things we could do similar, and sometimes we may not want. We may not want to change that. We want to keep the vows like that, or maybe even higher, or whatever. Yeah.
I was thinking of the presentation. In the second last slide, you were talking about is Brahman Diksha outdated?
Yeah.
And we already see in various parts of ISKCON, including Russia, for instance, they have a very complicated system. It takes quite a while to get Brahman Diksha.
Yeah.
Therefore, what's happened is in many places you have first initiates versus intermediates.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
No, I'm not talking about, I'm talking the Brahman part.
Repeat the question.
He's talking about Brahman initiation, and I mentioned Brahman initiation here, and in Russia, they have many people worshiping the deity without the second initiation because it takes them a long time to get the second initiation. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about simply the Brahmana aspect of it, not the second initiation part of it.
having a thread.
The thread part of it, and that whole ceremony, which we don't even do the Vedic ceremony anymore, and we just get the thread and whatever like that. So is that a functional for preaching to become a Brahmana? To become a Vaishnava is another thing. We get the Vedic mantra, the Vaishnava mantras for deity worship. That's the pancharatric process. But this I was talking about simply getting the Vedic mantra, Guru Swaha, that particular mantra only, that part of it.
So what you're suggesting then is just get the pancharatric guiding mantras.
Yeah, well, I'm not suggesting we do it or not, but it's that Vedic mantra is a secondary thing, which was never there before Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada. They got it independently from the father or whatever, like that, as Lord Caitanya did also. And then he, because of the challenge of the smart Brahmanas, then he said, okay, we're superior to the Brahmanas, so since you're a Vaishnava, you can do whatever a Brahmana does. And they went for the samskar and got the Vedic mantra and the thread.
You did a great job pointing out the ambiguities. I guess I had no idea how ambiguous this all is. Are you prepared to offer any practical suggestion for ISKCON to clarify what that should be?
Education, I suppose. To clarify, it is ambiguous, so we need to clarify. We have to also study the history. What is the Gaudiya? What do they do in the Gaudiya Sampradaya? And then, as I kind of analyzed very briefly, Bhaktisiddhanta did this, and then Prabhupada did this. So we have to study the whole historical development of initiation, etc. Now, one point to make is that though Lord Caitanya emphasized Harinam, after his disappearance, they kind of got into the Diksha again. And they start tracing Diksha lines. And then when Bhaktisiddhanta comes along, he said, no. He traces a Shiksha line instead. Just to indicate that, Diksha is not the only thing, but somehow they began to, probably for convenience, and also there's material reasons maybe, and it was also family lines that continued. It was like more, father to son, Diksha lines. And it's a little bit economic reasons also. They get donations out of that, so maybe that's why they emphasized it later on. But anyway, Diksha became a little more prominent than it was in Lord Caitanya's time because, even in spite of the fact that it's for deity worship. So, then Bhaktisiddhanta came along, okay, Shiksha. Said, okay, he traced the Shiksha line instead. And then, of course, then everybody, all the Diksha gurus in our Sampradaya started criticizing him. Oh, what is this? This is false, This isn't right, because he was not tracing a Diksha line. So, even with, as I say, in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, Diksha became more prominent than maybe it should be. Because the main process is Harinam, not deity worship.
Another point I don't think you mentioned is that Another point I don't think you mentioned is that I saw in the database that Srila Prabhupada sometimes used the word Diksha to refer to first initiation, not only to second initiation.
Yeah, he could, yeah. Also, he uses the word initiation in a very broad way. Sometimes Lord Caitanya initiated so-and-so into the holy name. So he just began the process of encouraging people to chant Hare Krishna. So initiation can have a very broad meaning also.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for such a wonderful session. I just had one little doubt. During Lord Chaitanya's time, Srinivasacharya, Lord Chaitanya came in his dream also. And then why Srinivasacharya was so much desperate to take initiation from Loknath Goswami? That he went and was cleaning the things. And also his divine guest Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur also, his guru rejected so many times. His father also is giving Shiksha, everything. He's from the Vaishnava family. Still he was doing so many attempts to get Diksha from his guru.
So, in other words, that we see examples of people taking Diksha. And yeah, and as I said, even Lord Caitanya took Diksha. And we see all of our the acharyas like Vishnu Chakravarti, Baladev, they all had Diksha, etc. And they offer the respects to the Guru. So it's a tradition, and we don't reject that at all. It's there. But how much emphasis do we put on the Diksha as the main element? That's the question. And whereas Lord Caitanya emphasizes chanting the whole holy name as the most powerful process, rather than Diksha and everything else. Back there.
Maharaj, do you know the history of the 5 vows that Prabhupada gave us? To vow for a specific number of rounds and then vowing for the 4 related principles. Do you know what the history of that is?
I don't know whether that's probably when did it start. Probably somewhere in near the very beginning, the first. Probably that happened in the first few years. I don't know exactly. You have to get maybe some.
But is there any of that in the Gaudiya Math?
In a very loose way for that, because they don't call that initiation first thing. So as you know, many of them just chant 4 rounds or something, and even after that, they're still chanting a few rounds. It's not even 4 rounds or whatever. So obviously 16 rounds isn't a standard for them. And 4 regulative principles, I don't know. What do they do now in the Gaudiya Math? Do they insist on that? They don't really question, We have a whole thing, you have to get the recommendation of your temple president that you actually are following the regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds, etc. So we have some sort of check, but as far as for that first thing, they don't really have that much of a check. So.
What about for Diksha?
Yeah, I would think they're more strict for that. I don't know the details, but I think they are strict for that for the Diksha.
Gaudiya Sampradaya in general, was there some sort of specific taking of vows for Diksha?
I'm not familiar with that. I think they would assume that if you're going to take Diksha, you would already be very serious, and it's not a mass thing, you see. Like, let's say, in Gopal Bhatta's line, Radharaman Temple, so a few people come in once in a while, and they probably know the people, and they're probably also traditionally in that family, so they know their history and everything, and so they don't need to check. So I would think that would be the system, mainly. It's not that the new people are coming out of nowhere and doing it, so probably they would make, obviously they wouldn't take unqualified people doing sinful activities.
I asked this once before, but again, it seems like this seems to justify a little bit what the Ritvik say, because they're chanting Hare Krishna, they're just pointing them to the Acharya.
Yeah, no, we
So can you explain it?
Yeah. The main point of the Ritviks that we don't agree with is not that we also want to put Prabhupada in the center, Prabhupada at the top, and we've even written a statement like that. But the main difference is that Prabhupada is the Diksha Guru, and he gives you those Diksha mantras in there. So I'm not saying anything like that. Diksha is there, but it's through a living Guru. And instead they have a tape of Prabhupada, and they give that to everybody, and they just hear that mantra, and then say, Prabhupada's your Diksha Guru, like that. But then the problem with them is that, and I pointed this out to Madhu also, actually, the Shiksha Guru is more important than the Diksha Guru. So that, who's your Shiksha Guru? And of course they say Prabhupada's the Shiksha Guru also. But then we have this problem that, you can read Prabhupada's books, etc. But then again, we need explanation. So somebody has to explain along the line, what does Prabhupada mean by this, and this, or whatever like that. So we do need a Shiksha Guru also.
You unplugged him.
Hare Krishna. Seems to be going on. Back there, but we can't. Yeah, what's the yell loud?
On that, sometimes we hear that Prabhupada actually gave Brahma
know, we hear the Prabhupada establish Varnashram Dharma. I don't know.
Actually, he gave the Brahmin clears a sign,
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, probably he's just following in the footsteps of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because he did the same ceremony, whatever. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati may have that as a goal also, but I think the main motive was to counteract the smarta Brahmanas and say we're superior to the Brahmanas, not that we want to become Brahmanas. Because he didn't give too much respect to those type of Brahmanas anyway. So whether he is trying to establish Varnashram also, fine. But then, Varnashram doesn't just mean Brahmanas, does it? It means all classes. So it could be a Vaishya or Kshatriya also. Or it could be a Sudra also. He's also in the Varnashram system. So why emphasize only a Brahmana there? Anyway, I don't know the answer. Maybe in some lectures, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also talked about this being part of the Varnashram, trying to institute Varnashram. I don't know.
One's relationship with the Lord is revealed in that sacred mantra. What is the meaning?
Jiva Goswami in his definition or his explanation of that verse, then he says that Divyagana means real the Swarup of the Lord and relationship with the Lord. So the Swarup, of course, is Krishna or Rama or whatever mantra you would get. And then because we're Vaishnavas, then obviously we're the servant of the Lord. That's the basic relationship. And then we can also have within the mantra certain other relationships which probably would come through the shiksha of the Guru. It may be Madhurya Rasa or Vatsalya Rasa or whatever like that. So that these particular relationship also given through the mantra.
Regarding the number of threads.
Oh, the number of threads? Well, 3 for the brahmachari, three pieces for the brahmachari, and I think 6 for the grihastha.
For sannyasi?
Well, some of the sannyasis don't have any. Like the Paramahamsa sannyasi or the Mayavadi sannyasi don't have any, no thread at all. But it could be 3 or 4. Some grihasthas take 3. I think 1 is for the wife, representing the wife or something like that. Or the upper cloth, I think also they say the upper cloth. So you wouldn't have to wear the upper cloth, you put an extra thread on also. That's another thing. So it's nothing really fixed like that, but generally it's 3 for the brahmachari. That's very definite.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for this wonderful enlightening presentation, making it very clear what are the different components of Diksha and the various kinds of Diksha and so on. It was very, very interesting. I got, however, a little scared hearing whether we should change the system of Diksha that Srila Prabhupada instituted. It's a little scary. I appreciated the broad, very broad, ideas that you presented in the end, that we do have to cater to a mass influx of people. And so on. So I appreciate it, because usually we only think of increasing the number of gurus. That has been one of the things. And you gave some other ideas. So I appreciated that. However, I really got a little scared about changing the system of Diksha that Srila Prabhupada instituted, although I understood the logic. And if I may, I just want to add one thing, that if I may, I think this system of Namdan that you mentioned, which has been practiced in the Gaudiya Math, personally, I would rather see that as an addition to our system, but not a replacement of the first Diksha.
So we have 3 then.
Yeah, no problem with that. Because changing the system of the system of Diksha is not something very superficial. Srila Prabhupada, just as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a very definite vision why he added the Vedic Diksha. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada, I have absolutely no doubt, had a very, very clear vision why he requested the 16 rounds and why he requested the regulative principles at the first Diksha.
Okay, well anyway, I'm not contesting that at all. It's merely maybe the name, or then can only the Diksha Guru be the one that gives the first initiation? Maybe that could be a thing, you know? Maybe we give open it up, and many people give the first initiation. Maybe we could have the two separate like that, and we have first, second. There's all sorts of things we could talk about. Now, what innovation, again, probably they won't take any of my suggestions at GBC, very conservative, so they wouldn't do anything. But these are just points of, the thought that we can discuss, because we know what essence of initiation is. Things can be slightly modified or whatever like that. Could be. And individual gurus may do something also different, slightly different. You may not be aware that they're doing something different, but I think they are. Even some gurus are doing something different. And like Bhaktivedanta Swami, for instance, maybe I'm not going to give anybody Brahman initiation because they're also, uncultured or whatever. They're not up to a Brahmanical standard. So there's, individuals may start innovating on their own anyway. I don't know. But as far as I know, probably innovation within Diksha may be a very slow process, if at all. But we may be forced to do so in the future anyway, as I said, because people that don't innovate, maybe they get left behind. Or the innovation may be simply that we put less emphasis on the Diksha, as I said, and put more emphasis upon Harinam as a universal process, and not emphasize the initiation so much.
Just following on from Prashant.
He answered my question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is not my question, that's inquiry. Just you say Gaudiya Math has one Math and one Dikha Guru. And many people are asking in ISKCON, in present situation in ISKCON, how many Dikha Guru are there?
I think it's about 40 Diksha Gurus.
About 80. About 80.
80, okay, 80. Oh, is it enough? 80, he said 80. Is this enough? Do we have enough Diksha Gurus? What do you think? Enough?
Not the way it is now. Just following on from Prashant Maharaja's point about expressing concerns about changing the system that Prabhupada implemented. I'm wondering if we haven't already changed it, because Srila Prabhupada seems to de-emphasize the whole aspect of Diksha. There's even a conversation where he says he compares it to like enrolling in a college or a university. And he said Diksha is like the enrollment. It's just like you're filling out a paper. It's a formality. He said the real thing is the transmission of knowledge.
Okay.
So now we have this. In some places, there's such an emphasis on Diksha.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm wondering, haven't we already changed the system?
Yeah. That's another thing. And of course, not just Diksha, we changed other things also. For instance, what were the marriage ceremonies like in the first year of ISKCON or second year of ISKCON? They did a ceremony with a fire. Well, what did they do? I think they chanted the pranam mantras again, isn't it? And you take this person to be your wife, this is your husband. Simple ceremony. Maybe they had garlands or no garlands. I don't know what they did. It was a very simple ceremony. But now, generally, we don't do that, do we? We have completely different mantras. Actually go back to the Vedic mantras, and we have the whole Vedic ceremony from the Sanskar Deepika of Gopalpanta, and then they go through that. We didn't even ask Prabhupada to change that. We changed that also, I think. So we changed the whole fire sacrifice. Why? Mainly because, especially in India, people expect something more than pranam mantras for a marriage, and what they've been seeing in the previous marriages in their family are quite different. So we have to kind of conform to that anyway. So we follow the main. Nobody has objected so far, but we changed that kind of without even asking anybody. But it's kind of more common sense in that way. Diksha, of course, is more important, maybe, but still, maybe change could be there also.
DD installation.
Curious, this question may just show me as very ignorant, but maybe you could clarify, if you could please, the appropriate role of personal guru-disciple relationship in terms of both of the Sampradaya and now the institutional context of the movement. And I guess I'm imagining, perhaps incorrectly, a sort of a reciprocally accountable personal relationship somehow as carrying through the Sampradaya, and wondering if that's truly part of it. How does that live on now?
Personal relationship, I mean one-to-one relationship.
Yes, accountability, reciprocal accountability, really.
Actually, if we look at our Gaudiya Sampradaya before ISKCON and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they can go both ways. Some were personal because they had very few disciples, but then others were quite the opposite. They had like, Janava had how many disciples? 3,000 disciples or something, Diksha disciples. And
No
actually,
internet.
I think she didn't even teach them, because we have a story about the daughter of, I think it's Dvaitacharya. She was a guru also. And then two men approached her for initiation. She gave them initiation, and then they said, we want teachings. And she said, I can't teach you, because you're a man. So, in other words, it was a very, Diksha, she gave the mantra. That was it. So, for many people, giving the mantra was the Diksha, but giving the teachings and the personal guidance or whatever was completely separate and wasn't done by the Diksha Guru. So no, because it was impersonal to some extent. Nevertheless, we also emphasize that you should get the teachings, and there is a personal relationship through the teachings. There has to be there. If you have a guru as a teacher, Shiksha Guru, then you have to respect the guru, and through that relationship, you get the knowledge. So the relationship is very important for getting the knowledge. So definitely it's there, but to some extent it varied in the sampradaya itself. Now, the more people you have as disciples, the less personal it becomes. And like in Bhakti Vriksha, they say that, well, maybe 15 people or 20 people you can have a personal relationship with. More than that, then it becomes impersonal, so therefore they're supposed to divide up into a new group. When they start going over 20, they make two groups of 10-10, so that the leader can have personal relationships with the 10 people in there, instead of having a relationship with 40 or 50 or 60 people. So the same would go on actually for a real personal relationship with a guru. Then we'd have to have many, many gurus, because you have so many devotees. So we don't have that. So obviously the relationship is going to be somewhat impersonal because of that. So then the devotee would have to rely on others, that is Shiksha Gurus, to make up the deficit of having a personal relationship and personal guidance, etc. Which was my suggestion, that we need more Shiksha Gurus around. And then one could also give equal respect to them as one gives to the Diksha Guru, because they're doing a lot of the work. They're giving the guidance and the teachings. So that personal relationship would be to the Shiksha Guru and the Diksha Guru at the present time, where we have so many people and less Diksha Gurus.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. As an institution, like, when Srila Prabhupada, he founded, and he was the only guru, and he was initiating people. Now there are multiple gurus, and most of them, they're very, advanced age. And for the future of institution and ISKCON, if we don't have a clear-cut clarity about this Diksha and things, then future will be in a chaotic situation, I feel. Because some of the spiritual masters, initiating spiritual master, already they left the planet, and their followers, and they say that our guru had different vision of representing the organization, and they go in a different direction, and the whole institution in one side and they are in another side, and already such problems are coming up, and this is the right time to just in an institutional point of view, work out something and come up with concrete instructions. Otherwise, there will be a problematic thing.
That is why the strategic planners, I said, isolated this. The guru is one of the problem things that has to be examined carefully, and therefore we wrote this lines of authority paper, etc. And also they have the disciple course and the guru course to somehow start that process of keeping everyone in line with and loyal to ISKCON as well to Diksha Guru. That part of it's not perfect, but it's a beginning at least. So further work has to be done, and more understanding what Diksha actually is, and function of Shiksha Guru, etc. Maybe more emphasis on Shiksha Gurus, whatever, and loyalty to ISKCON. Maybe one more question.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your enlightening seminar. As you told Maharaj that we have less number of Diksha Gurus, and because of that, so many devotees aspiring for that. So we maybe have more Shiksha Gurus. But in current ISKCON scenario, we have norms or standards for Diksha Guru, but we don't have set standards for Shiksha Guru. And who can be called a Shiksha Guru?
Yeah,
Do we have?
yeah. No, we don't. We don't have any standards for that. And even Scripture doesn't really get into that too much. But of course, even for Diksha Guru, the standards are very broad anyway. So ISKCON, of course, could have standards for Diksha